Hello guys, this is HyperX here, and in this video I will be answering a question that I've been wondering myself for the past few months, I guess, and that is if you can build a PC, a gaming PC, for about £300, so a very strict budget. And let's see if we can build a PC for that low of a price that it can still run modern games at 1080p at a medium to high settings and still get the 60 FPS that everyone wants. So let's get on with the build. And just to mention, this is just targeted at people that are on a very strict budget of £300, that they don't have any more money to spend and just they want a PC that can just do the gaming without like going super cheap on a pre-built machine that's not gonna be very good at running any games. So this is a custom build, and this PC should have no problem running modern games at medium settings on 1080p and still get the 60 FPS that everyone wants and should play on, which I think is the minimum FPS that everyone should be looking for when gaming. So let's get on with the build. So with this build, another thing to mention, I am using different supplies like Aria PC, just so I can get the price as low as possible. And if you stay tuned, then you find out that I went a bit over the budget, like £8 over. So keep that in mind. I wasn't able to bring it down to £300, which is a good thing, because if I did, then the parts would not be that good. Sorry guys, the parts would not be that good. So let's go on with the build. For the processor, I'm using my trustworthy Athlon X4 860K, which I've used before for my AMD build and budget builds, as it is a super cheap quad-core processor that's clocked at 3.7 GHz, which is pretty good and can easily be overclocked to over 4 GHz. And I'm going from, it's £52 an Aria PC, so I suggest getting it from there, and it's a bit more expensive on Amazon, I think. And I'm not going with a CPU cooler this time, just to keep the prices low. But the stock cooler should give you some moderate overclocking, but it's just going to be a bit louder, so you should be able to get over 4 GHz, but it's going to be a bit louder. And I would suggest overclocking, so to minimize any bottlenecks we have with our graphics card. Next is the motherboard, and I chose the MSI A78M-E35 micro ATX board. So this is a very good motherboard. For the money, it's FM2 Plus, just the socket we need. It's got two modules, two RAM slots, so you can it's only limited to 2 sticks of RAM, and just memory speed goes up to all the way to 2133, so you can have 2133 RAM if you wanted to, but I wouldn't suggest that. Does support up to 32 gigs of RAM. It does have RAID. There's no Crossfire SLI, but there is onboard USB headers, so you can, if the case has USB 3.0, then you can use it. Next is the RAM. So I went with only a single stick of 8 gigs of RAM. It's the Kingston's HyperX Fury, the DDR1600 RAM. So I went with one stick because we only have two slots, and I want to leave some sort of upgrade options, as this build is pretty limited on upgrading. And difference between dual channel and single channel only makes a difference if you're using an APU, and really you would not see any any noticeable gaming improvement, as we're using a discrete graphics card which has its own 2 gigs of RAM, so don't have to worry about that really. And next is the storage, and I went with a 1 terabyte. There's no SSD in this build as it's super cheap, so if you're trying to fit in an SSD into this build, it's going to go over budget. So, which I still suggest, if you could get 120 gig SSD now for like 40 quid, I would suggest getting that, and then just like trying to find some sort of hard drive, if that's not enough storage for you, from like some old PC that you may have laying around, or some friend can lend you some. yeah, to get an SSD, as you see some major improvements over a mechanical hard drive. But we have a Seagate Baracuda 1TB hard drive. It's 7200 RPM, 64 megs of cache. It's plenty fast for just storage of games, game library, movies, music, everything like that. And that's it. And we're getting it for about 32 quid from RPC, which is extremely cheap for 1TB. And okay, next is the graphics card. So I went with the graphics card I use personally in my machine, which at the moment it's like super cheap at like £96, which I got it for like 20 quid more than that. So it's come down in price significantly. And it's the EVGA G4 GTX M50i 2GB superclocked video card. I think from personal experiences, I've been using it for gaming. This card just shouldn't have no problem playing modern games at high settings at 1080p and still get the 60 FPS. But the latest AAA games, it's gonna struggle, like The Witcher 3 for example. I'm able to play at medium settings at 1080p at about 45 frames per second, but I've been able to get that up to 60 FPS, but then I would have to tune down some of the settings which I do like having on. And I know I said 60 FPS is the minimum, but that game still runs very smooth in even at 45 frames per second, surprisingly. So that game can be played at 45 frames per second, so keep that in mind. And other games like Dying Light, you probably have to, like, you can get 60 FPS on like medium settings with some features turned off, like the ambient occlusion, draw distance all the way down. You don't need that, it doesn't make much of a difference. Like the anti-aliasing, all that stuff, if you turn those down on medium settings, then you can get 60 FPS at 1080p. And on all the other games like racing games like Grid 2, Grid Autosport, then should max those games out and get 60 FPS. And that is it for a graphics card. It's a very good graphics card. It's sort of the perfect graphics card. It's not gonna bottleneck our CPU, and if you overclock the CPU, then it should have no problem. Should have zero bottlenecks. And next, that is it for the graphics card. And next is the case. So I went with Thermaltake's Versa H2380X mid-tower case. So as I saw this case, I was planning on getting a micro-ATX case to fit our board, but a mid-tower still fits our board, and then it's sort of gonna leave you some room for expansion. And it's a very good looking case from Thermaltake. It's got a side window, so you can see your components. It looks nice. It's got support for 2 fans at the top, and it does come with a 120mm fan. So you could go water cooling with this, but it's a cheap case, so I wouldn't suggest that. And it's overall a very good case for the price. It's only £26 and on RPC again. So I've been using RPC for most of the parts because the deals there seem on PC components seem better than Amazon. So I haven't personally tried it, but if you're not comfortable using RPC, then try and get the parts from Amazon, which I suggest, as I've been using it for years. But it's gonna cost you a little bit more than our budget, so keep that in mind. And finally, it's the power supply. It's a power supply, and I've chosen the EVGA's 430W 80+ certified power supply. So I've only gone with 430W, which is gonna really limit our upgrade options in terms of the graphics card. As most graphics card nowadays, you're gonna require more, at least 500 to 600 watts minimum. So keep that in mind. You might have to upgrade it if you plan on getting a different graphics card. But in our case, our graphics card is only TDP of 60 watts, which is extremely low for a graphics card, and so this power supply is gonna have plenty of juice to power our system. And well, in total, according to PC Parts Link, we're only gonna draw about 244 watts, and with some overclocking it could go up to 300, so it should have plenty of wattage for our system. And I would suggest overclocking, as the GTX 780 is already overclocked out of the box, but you could push that up. Like I have got mine, I think I had this safely clocked to about 1500 megahertz half stably, but during the summer it kind of started overheating quite a lot during the heat, and it still go unstable a bit. But so at the moment I have it at plus 120, which gives me about 1460, I think, max turbo boost clock. Cause it kind of differs. Sometimes I get some different, like 1433, or sometimes I get 1460, sometimes I get 1480. So it does depend on the temperatures from GPU boost. So you won't get a consistent clock. But out of the box, I can confirm that it boosted up to 1333, even though it says it's 1266. It did boost up like close to 100 megahertz more, which is pretty amazing. So if you're not comfortable with overclocking your graphics card, then if you leave it as stock, it's gonna boost up to 1333, and you should have no problem running any games at that stock speed. The only thing I suggest, if you can potentially overclock the memory, as it's pretty underclocked, like at 5400 effective memory, and I'd suggest boosting that up to at least 6000, so you can get you do see some performance gain. And this is it for the build, guys. It came up to £308, so pretty close to the $300 budget. So if you have that strict budget and are able to get £8 over it, like £308, 310, then get this build. And I'll leave a PC part speaker link below. And thanks for watching. If you like the video, make sure you click the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See ya.